The UK takes pride in its strict gun laws. We often look across the pond, bewildered by the gun violence that plagues America, yet a stark reality casts a shadow over our nation. Gun crime is on the rise. How can this be, you might ask, when owning a firearm in the UK is harder than finding a parking spot in central London? This is the unsettling paradox we must confront. Despite our stringent laws, the streets of some cities tell a different story. The sound of gunshots, once a rarity, is becoming increasingly familiar. Families live in fear, their lives held hostage by the spectre of gun violence. This isn't a Hollywood crime drama, this is the reality for communities across the UK. The question that haunts us is simple yet complex. How are guns still ending up in the wrong hands? The answer, like the issue itself, is multifaceted, a tangled web of international smuggling rings, online black markets, and a demand that shows no sign of abating. This isn't just a law enforcement issue, it's a societal issue, demanding our attention, our understanding, and our collective action. We must ask ourselves, can a nation disarm itself from within? The UK's gun laws are among the strictest in the world, with rigorous background checks, mandatory training, and strict storage requirements. Public perception of safety is generally high, with many believing that these laws protect them from the kind of gun violence seen elsewhere. However, the rise in gun crime challenges this perception, leaving communities questioning the effectiveness of these laws. It's a complex issue that requires a multifaceted approach, involving not just law enforcement, but also community engagement and international cooperation. We must ask ourselves, can a nation disarm itself from within? The UK's journey towards strict gun control began in the early 20th century with significant legislation like the Firearms Act of 1920 and subsequent amendments tightening the noose on gun ownership. Recent incidents, such as the tragic shootings in Plymouth in 2021, have brought this issue back into the spotlight, prompting renewed calls for even stricter regulations. Lawmakers continue to grapple with the balance between public safety and individual rights, a debate that is far from over.
Acquiring a firearm legally in the UK is no walk in the park. It's more like scaling Everest in flip-flops. The process is intentionally arduous, designed to weed out those who might pose a threat. First, you need a good reason, and self-defense doesn't cut it. Think more along the lines of being a farmer, a licensed firearms dealer, or a member of a shooting club. Then comes the paperwork, mountains of it. You'll need to provide references, undergo background checks that would make the FBI blush, and prove you can store your firearms securely. We're talking Fort Knox levels of security here. And let's not forget the mandatory safety courses and inspections. The entire process can take months, even years. It's time-consuming, expensive, and deliberately so. The UK's stance is clear. Gun ownership isn't a right, it's a privilege, and a heavily regulated one at that. So, if acquiring a firearm legally is akin to navigating a bureaucratic labyrinth, how are these weapons ending up on our streets? The answer, in short, lies in the shadows, where the black market thrives. The background checks are thorough, involving interviews with the applicant and their acquaintances. Police will check criminal records, mental health history, and even social media activity. The waiting period can be extensive, often leaving applicants in limbo for months. During this time, applicants must complete rigorous training to ensure they handle firearms safely. Home security inspections are also mandatory, ensuring that firearms are stored in approved, secure locations. Only after all these steps are completed can an applicant legally obtain a firearm in the UK. As of recent statistics, there are approximately 1.3 million legally held firearms in the UK, owned by around 570,000 certificate holders.
The journey of an illegal firearm into the UK is a testament to the ingenuity and ruthlessness of criminal networks. One well-trodden route is the so-called Iron Pipeline, a network stretching from Eastern Europe where weapons are plentiful and loosely regulated to the shores of the UK. These weapons, often remnants of past conflicts, find their way into shipping containers, hidden in vehicles or smuggled across borders by individuals willing to risk it all for the right price. But the Iron Pipeline is just one artery in a complex criminal circulatory system. The internet has become a virtual arms bazaar, with encrypted messaging apps and online marketplaces facilitating the sale of firearms from the comfort of one's living room. Weapons are broken down into parts, shipped discreetly, and reassembled on arrival, making detection even more challenging. The methods are constantly evolving, with criminals adapting to law enforcement tactics faster than a chameleon changes color. The authorities are engaged in a constant game of cat and mouse, trying to stay one step ahead of the smugglers. But the sheer volume of firearms in circulation, coupled with the porous nature of borders, makes this a daunting task, to say the least. Another method involves small boats crossing the English Channel under the cover of darkness, with firearms hidden in secret compartments. Drones are also being used to deliver small arms across borders, bypassing traditional checkpoints entirely. Commercial flights are another avenue, with firearms concealed in checked luggage, often evading detection by airport security. International mail services are exploited as well, with weapons shipped in seemingly innocuous packages. These packages are often routed through multiple countries to obscure their origin. Law enforcement agencies are continually adapting their strategies, but the ever-changing tactics of smugglers make this a relentless battle. The global nature of these smuggling routes underscores the complexity of the issue, necessitating international cooperation to effectively combat the flow of illegal firearms into the UK.
Who are the puppet masters behind this illicit trade? Sadly, there's no single villain, but rather a cast of nefarious characters. Organized crime groups, with their tentacles reaching across continents, play a leading role. They treat firearms like any other commodity. Drugs, counterfeit goods, even people exploiting existing smuggling routes and networks for profit. Then there are the opportunistic individuals, the middlemen who act as brokers, connecting buyers and sellers online. These individuals often operate on the fringes of society, motivated by financial gain and a blatant disregard for the law. And let's not forget the disgruntled loners, radicalized online, who see firearms as a means to an end, a way to act out their twisted ideologies. The sources are as diverse as the weapons themselves. Converted antique firearms, once prized possessions, are now deadly tools in the wrong hands. Replica firearms, designed to fire blanks, are modified to fire live ammunition. And then there are the purpose-built weapons, smuggled in from abroad, their sole purpose to inflict harm. It's a toxic cocktail, flooding our streets and putting lives at risk. The black market thrives in hidden corners, with secret warehouses storing stacks of cash and firearms, often uncovered by undercover police operations. International suppliers, meeting in remote locations, load shipping containers with contraband, evading customs officers who inspect suspicious cargo. The dark web facilitates anonymous exchanges, with encrypted messages ensuring transactions remain hidden from law enforcement. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, the battle against illegal firearms is ongoing, with arrests, confiscations, and trials marking the relentless pursuit of justice. Thefts from homes and vehicles also contribute to the pool of illegal firearms, with stolen guns often ending up in the hands of criminals.
Section 5. Children caught in the crossfire. The human cost of gun violence. Behind the statistics, the cold, hard numbers, lie the human stories, each one a tragedy. Families torn apart, futures extinguished, communities living in fear. The impact of gun crime reverberates far beyond the immediate victims, leaving behind a trail of trauma and despair. Children with their entire lives ahead of them are increasingly becoming the innocent victims of this senseless violence. Caught in the crossfire, used as pawns in gang disputes, their lives cut short before they've had a chance to truly begin. The image of a child clutching a bullet wound should haunt the conscience of a nation. It's easy to become desensitized to the statistics, to the daily news reports of another shooting, another life lost. But we must never forget the human cost of this epidemic. The ripple effect of each gunshot spreads outwards, shattering families, communities, and our collective sense of security. Take the story of Sarah, a 10-year-old girl who was caught in a gang crossfire while playing in her front yard. Her life was forever changed, leaving her with physical and emotional scars. According to recent data, over 1,000 children are injured or killed by gun violence each year in the UK. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent lives forever altered. Communities are rallying together, holding meetings and vigils, trying to find solutions and support each other through the pain. The emotional toll on children who survive is immense. Many suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and depression, struggling to find a sense of normalcy. Support systems, including therapy and community programs, are crucial in helping these young victims heal and rebuild their lives. As we remember those lost, we must also commit to creating a safer future where children can grow up without the shadow of gun violence looming over them.
Section 6. Urban Battlegrounds. Cities grappling with gun crime. While gun crime affects the entire United Kingdom, certain cities bear the brunt of this crisis. London, with its sprawling urban landscape and complex social dynamics, often tops the list. But it's not alone. Cities like Birmingham, Manchester, and Liverpool are also grappling with rising gun violence, their streets becoming battlegrounds for rival gangs and opportunistic criminals. The reasons for this are complex and multifaceted. Social deprivation, lack of opportunities, and a sense of hopelessness create a breeding ground for criminality. Gangs, with their promises of power and belonging, exploit these vulnerabilities, recruiting young people into a life of crime. The concentration of poverty, coupled with a lack of investment in these communities, creates a vicious cycle, making it even harder to break free from the clutches of gun crime. It's a stark reminder that this issue isn't just about law enforcement, it's about social justice, equality, and creating a society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Glasgow, for instance, faces unique challenges with its historical gang culture and economic disparities. Leeds is dealing with an influx of illegal firearms, often linked to drug trafficking and organized crime. In Bristol, community initiatives are crucial in addressing the root causes of gun crime, focusing on youth engagement and support. Newcastle's approach includes increased police presence and community events aimed at fostering trust and cooperation. Sheffield is focusing on community outreach programs to prevent young people from being drawn into gang culture. Cardiff's strategy involves a combination of law enforcement and social programs to tackle the underlying issues of gun crime. Belfast, with its unique political history, faces challenges in addressing gun crime, requiring a tailored approach that considers its past conflicts. Each city, with its distinct challenges, highlights the need for a multifaceted approach to combat gun crime, emphasizing collaboration between law enforcement, community leaders, and social services. Case studies and police reports from these cities reveal the depth of the issue, showcasing the efforts and challenges faced by law enforcement and communities alike.
Section 7. Fighting Fire with Firepower. Government and Police Response. Faced with this growing crisis, the government and police are fighting fire with, well, not quite firepower, but a multifaceted approach that combines tough law enforcement with preventative measures. The police have ramped up stop-and-search operations in high-crime areas, using intelligence-led tactics to target known offenders and seize illegal firearms. The National Crime Agency, or NCA, is working tirelessly to dismantle organised crime groups involved in gun smuggling, collaborating with international partners to disrupt the flow of weapons into the country. The government has introduced tougher sentencing guidelines for firearm offences, sending a clear message that gun crime will not be tolerated. But it's not just about catching criminals after the fact. There's a growing recognition that we need to address the root causes of gun crime, tackling the social and economic inequalities that create a breeding ground for criminality. This includes investing in deprived communities, providing opportunities for young people, and challenging the gang culture that glorifies violence. Additionally, the police are adopting new technologies to enhance their capabilities. This includes the use of body cameras, drones, and advanced surveillance equipment to monitor and respond to gun crime more effectively. The government has also announced new funding for community-based initiatives aimed at preventing gun crime. These programs focus on building stronger police-community partnerships and providing resources for local leaders to implement effective crime prevention strategies. Rehabilitation programs for offenders, vocational training for at-risk youth, and mental health support services are also being expanded to help individuals break the cycle of violence and reintegrate into society. Public awareness campaigns are being launched to educate citizens about the dangers of gun crime and encourage community involvement in reporting suspicious activities. These efforts aim to create a safer environment for everyone. The effectiveness of these measures is being closely monitored, with regular reviews and adjustments to ensure that the strategies remain effective in reducing gun crime and enhancing public safety. Section 8. A multifaceted crisis demands a multifaceted solution. The gun crisis is complex, and no single solution can eradicate it entirely. Addressing it requires a multifaceted approach, involving coordinated efforts from all sectors of society. Law enforcement is crucial, but it's only one piece of the puzzle. Early intervention programs are essential, steering young people away from gangs and providing positive alternatives. Education plays a key role, raising awareness about the dangers of gun crime and promoting a culture of peace. Supporting families and communities affected by gun violence is vital, providing them with the resources and support they need to heal. Addressing the root causes of crime, such as poverty, inequality, and social exclusion, is also necessary. The road ahead is long and challenging, but complacency is not an option. The stakes are simply too high. We owe it to ourselves, our children, and future generations to create a society where everyone feels safe and secure, free from the fear of gun violence. Policy changes are crucial, including stricter gun control laws and better enforcement of existing regulations. Mental health support is another critical component, ensuring individuals receive the help they need before turning to violence. Job training and vocational programs can provide at-risk individuals with opportunities for a better future, reducing the allure of criminal activity. Community engagement and neighborhood watch programs can foster a sense of collective responsibility and vigilance. Utilizing technology for crime prevention, such as surveillance systems and data analysis, can enhance law enforcement efforts. Public awareness campaigns can educate the community about the importance of gun safety and the impact of gun violence. Ultimately, it will take a united effort from all of us to make a lasting change. Together, we can build a safer, more secure future for everyone.
Section 9. A future free from fear, the long road ahead. Can we ever truly eradicate gun crime? It's a question that weighs heavily on the minds of policymakers, law enforcement officials, and ordinary citizens alike. The reality is that as long as there's demand for illegal firearms, there will always be those willing to supply them. But that doesn't mean we should give up hope. By tackling the issue from all angles, by working together as a society, we can create a future where gun crime is the exception, not the norm, a future where our children can play in the park without fear, where communities can thrive without the threat of violence, and where the sound of gunshots is a distant memory. It's a long road ahead, but it's a journey we must take. The alternative, a society held hostage by fear, where violence reigns supreme, is simply unacceptable. We must choose hope over despair, action over apathy, and work tirelessly to create a future free from fear for ourselves and for generations to come. Community efforts are at the heart of this vision. Local leaders and volunteers are already making strides by organizing events, creating neighborhood watch groups, and fostering a sense of unity. Long-term strategies include educational programs in schools, youth engagement activities, and mentorship programs that aim to steer young people away from crime and towards positive futures. Policymakers are also crucial, drafting new laws and supporting successful rehabilitation programs to reduce recidivism and offer second chances. Together, we can build a society where diversity is celebrated, where every individual feels safe, and where the future is bright for all.